When you picture luxury in the Gulf, what pops into your head? You're probably thinking of massive skyscrapers, incredible resorts, maybe even ski slopes in the middle of the desert. But what if I told you the next huge trend in this world of extravagance is sustainability? Yeah, you heard that right. So let's dive into how the Gulf Cooperation Council, the GCC, is making this massive and kind of surprising bet on going green.
And we're not talking about some small niche market here. The hospitality industry in the region is on track to soar past $37 billion by 2028. This is a colossal industry, a real cornerstone of their economic future. But building this dream in the desert, it comes at a cost. And this really gets to the heart of the issue. On one side, you've got the dream, right? The iconic resorts, the five-star dining, the mega events. But the reality needed to power that dream is intense. It all comes down to one staggering fact. A full 70% of the peak electricity demand in the region goes to just one thing: air conditioning. That is the environmental price tag for keeping things cool. Okay, so this brings us to the core of our whole explainer. In a part of the world literally built on energy resources, why is this incredibly resource-hungry industry suddenly pivoting to sustainability? Why is green all of a sudden the new gold?
It's the big question, isn't it? Is this just some clever marketing, good PR, or is there something much deeper going on here, something driving a real transformation? Well, it turns out it's not just one thing. The whole shift is being fueled by what you could call a perfect storm of three major forces. First up, the business benefits are just too big to ignore. Being efficient saves a ton of money, and having a green reputation is a huge plus. Second, you've got us, the travelers. Demand for sustainable options is growing like crazy, and hotels have to listen. And finally, all of this is happening right in line with these really ambitious government goals, like Saudi Vision 2030. And this quote just nails the new mindset perfectly. See, the key thing to understand is that the GCC isn't looking at sustainability as some kind of compromise or a cheaper option. No way. They're framing it as the ultimate feature, something that actually makes the luxury experience even better. All right, so we've talked about the why. Now let's get into the how. How does this all translate into action? What are hotels and resorts actually doing on the ground to make this green vision a reality? They're really tackling it from all sides, breaking it down into three key areas. For energy, they're leaning into the one thing they have an insane amount of: sunshine, while using smart tech to cut back on that huge AC demand. For water, which is obviously super precious in the desert, they're getting creative with stuff like gray water recycling. And for waste, they're hitting it at every level, from composting food to getting rid of single-use plastics. Let's just zoom in on that waste part for a second, because it's a perfect example of the circular economy in action. Instead of leftover food getting trucked to a landfill, it gets composted right there on site. And then, that compost is used as fertilizer for the resort's own gardens. It's a totally closed loop. It's simple, smart, and super sustainable. And this way of thinking doesn't stop at the hotel's property line. It's also about where everything comes from in the first place. Hotels are trying to source more food and materials locally to cut down on shipping emissions, making sure their partners are ethical, and creating these incredible farm-to-table experiences that really connect you to the local environment. Now, what individual hotels are doing is awesome, but all of it is being supercharged by a much, much bigger movement across the whole region. This isn't just about a few eco-friendly resorts. We're talking about a coordinated push coming from the very top. And this isn't something that just happened overnight. This commitment has been building for years. From signing the Paris Agreement way back in 2015 to launching huge national strategies to even hosting the Global Climate Conference, COP28, the direction has been crystal clear for a long time. And these aren't just empty promises. I mean, take the Saudi Green Initiative. They are talking about a plan to plant 10 billion trees. That's billion with a B. It's a project on a scale that's almost hard to imagine, and it's all designed to completely reshape the country's environment and carbon footprint. You can see how serious they are when you look at the actual commitments. The UAE is aiming for 50% clean energy by 2050. Saudi Arabia has set a target for net zero emissions by 2060. These aren't just suggestions. These are hard goals that are driving real money and real innovation into sectors like tourism. So with all this momentum, what's next? What does the future of eco-luxury in the GCC really look like? And, are there any bumps in the road? Look, we have to be realistic here.
This kind of massive change is not easy. The upfront cost for all the solar panels and high-tech systems is really high. The extreme climate itself is a huge challenge. And there are still gaps in things like local supply chains and finding people with the specialized skills to run it all. These are definitely major hurdles they have to get over.
But the vision for what's next is already moving past those challenges. The industry is thinking beyond just being sustainable, which is mostly about doing less harm. And they're starting to embrace the idea of being regenerative. And this is a really big mental shift, moving away from just trying to minimize your impact and toward actively doing good. This is the new North Star, a kind of luxury that actually helps restore ecosystems, that preserves local culture, and that truly gives back to the places and communities it operates in. And you know what the best part is? We all get to play a role here. As travelers, our choices have real power. By booking hotels with real eco-certifications, saying yes to their green programs, supporting local restaurants and artists, and maybe even traveling in the off-season, we can directly help push this amazing movement forward. So it all leaves us with this one final, really fascinating question to think about. With all its resources, its bold ambition, and these powerful forces pushing for change, can the hottest region on the planet actually become the world's coolest example of sustainable luxury? Well, based on everything we're seeing, they are making one heck of a bet that it can.